Okay, so we're finally ready to get started in learning the actual syntax of the structured query language. You've probably already figured this out, but yes, that's where the SQL part comes from in the product title SQL Server. Okay, SQL is a different kind of programming language from C Sharp. Yeah, there have been some extensions to SQL over the years to include things like loops and decision statements, but at its core, it's a simple language for defining read, insert, update, and delete operations in your data. So for the next, I don't know, 8, 10 videos today, we're going to look at each of those basic operations and even some slightly more advanced operations. But you could spend weeks learning all of the syntax of the SQL programming language. The SQL language itself is actually used by many different vendors, and it's considered to be the default way to query relational databases. Now, Microsoft has added a few additional keywords and extensions to SQL, and it calls it T-SQL for Transact SQL. We'll look at why it's called Transact SQL some other time. For now, just understand that the SQL that we write might be usable in both Microsoft's SQL Server as well as other relational database products from other vendors, but in a few cases there might be some extremely minor syntax differences. So, in its most simple form, to retrieve all of the data from all columns of our customer table in our Acme database, we can write a statement like this. Select star from customers. So, the select is a T-SQL keyword indicating that you want to perform a read operation. Most of the most important operations, update, insert, and delete, they start with one of those four keywords: select, update, insert, or delete. The star next to the keyword select means that you want to display all of the columns in the table. The from keyword is a T-SQL keyword that will tell SQL Server which table it should be choosing all data from all columns. And that's the next part, the table name itself. In this particular case, customers. Okay, so what we can do is this. Let's pop open our Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and I want to select a new query. And let's see what happens when we actually write this query. Okay, so we're going to do select star from customers. And notice I get IntelliSense. That's one of the reasons why I like working in SQL Server Management Studio as opposed to the query window. Okay, and auto-completion when I hit the tab key, another benefit. So I'm going to hit execute, and you can see that it indeed pulls back 1,000 rows, which I happen to know we have 1,000 rows in our customers table right now. Okay, and we can also see an additional tab next to results called messages, and it lets you know how many rows were affected. Not so important whenever you're looking at selects, but definitely when you're looking at multiple statements, updates, deletes, selects, and other types of SQL statements. It's helpful to see the messages to let you know what actually just happened behind the scenes. Okay, so that's in its most basic form what we can do. Now, what if we wanted to only select the first and last name? We got a little whiff of this yesterday, right, when we were looking at the query window? So I can go first name, comma, last name, again, IntelliSense, awesome. So now let's just execute that, and we only see the first and last name in our select statements. Now we can also do something called a column alias, where we can just change the column headers that we see here at the very top that are pulled back. So now let's execute that, and you can see we get F name and first name and then F name. It should be actually L name would probably be best. So we can use that as keyword to alias the column names, something like this: F name and L name. Okay. So another thing we can do is format the column output. So say, for example, I wanted to have first name plus space plus last name. I can do something like that. Let's remove this. And we'll alias it too as full name. Let's see if that works. Yeah, and it does. So we get both of those columns combined together with a blank space, and all three strings are concatenated together, and the result is column name, full name. Okay, and then finally, what we may want to do is is use a where clause. Now, a where clause is going to restrict. Up to this point, we've been selecting all 1,000 rows every time. But what if I don't want all 1,000 rows? Maybe I only want those customers, and I'm doing this off the top of my head here. So let's see what we could do. Where state equals Texas. Let's see how many Texas people there are here. Let's execute this. All right, and you can see from the messages that there were 23 rows returned, 23 rows here at the bottom. And here are all the people, all of our customers in the Acme database that are from Texas. So a where clause will restrict all of the possible values that could be returned. And I have a feeling that a lot of our time, especially later in the series of videos, will be devoted to where statements and all the many different types of clauses that we can put there to restrict and refine, and we can add as what are called predicates to our query selections. Okay, so that's a pretty good start. What we looked at was writing a select statement, removing columns, or better yet, specifying which columns that we wanted displayed in our result set. We looked at how to add column aliases using the as keyword. Okay. We looked at how to format the column output by appending things together using the plus operator. Append columns, fields of information together using the plus operator, forgive me. And then finally a where clause, where we were able to restrict which values we brought back by using a state equals Texas. We could, again, we're gonna work with that where clause. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it and really find individual customers or groups of customers and get really good about narrowing down our search selection using the where clause in more videos. Okay, so that's it. In the next video, I think we're going to look at how to either update or insert records into our database too. So that should be fun. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.